let's talk about how to find a niche for your business. When you're doing this, you actually have two very important niching choices that you need to consider in this process if you want to do it right. The first one is what I call the vertical choice. Let me give you an example of this. So the first thing is every time when I'm talking to somebody about niching and they use the word everyone, it's like, no. So if you're appealing to everyone, you're appealing to no one. So let's look at this vertically. So, hey, I've got a product that everyone should buy. So then let's niche down from that. That's what this red arrow means, is we're niching down from that. So now we're going to go to people who want to start a business. Okay, that's a much better niche than everyone. So people who want to start a business, but we can niche down further from that. How about people who want to sell prepared food? Lots of different ways you can sell prepared food. Now let's niche down a little bit further. How about people who want to start a food truck? Can you see what we've just done? We've gone from a niche of everyone down to start a business, down to people who want to sell prepared food, down to people who want to start a food truck. Can you see how people who, if you want to sell information to people, teach them a course, consult, coach, whatever, targeting people who want to start a food truck is a much, much more valuable niche to you than everyone or people who want to sell prepared food. Why? Because people who want to start a food truck have a whole bunch of issues that are specific to them that are not specific to people who want to start a restaurant, people who want to start a business, those kinds of things. The more specific you get in this, the better off you'll be. It's a process of choices. By excluding people, you focus, and that focus brings, for every person you exclude, it brings in 100 new buyers because you're better talking to them and their specific needs. So the more specific, the better when it comes to vertical choicing, going down from everyone to people who want to own a food truck. Now, this is true actually to a point. You can niche too deep. Let me just give you an example of this. So remember, people who want to start a food truck? Well, you could niche down further to people who want to start a taco truck. But here's my question. Do people who want to start a taco truck need a whole bunch of very different advice than somebody who wants to start a ribs truck or a hamburger truck or something like that? Yeah, there's stuff about cooking ribs and about cooking hamburgers, but basically you got a truck, it's got a grill in it, you put up signage on the outside, you park it somewhere where you're not going to get arrested for parking there, and you sell the food. My argument is people who want to start a taco truck is actually too deep of niching. You should have stopped in that case at people who want to start a food truck. Why? Because the advice you give one person versus another, a taco truck versus a ribs truck versus a hamburger truck, is not all that different. So you stop niching when your advice and how you communicate to them becomes no longer different. All right. So what you want to do here is you want to drill down so that they know that you know them and their specific issues. That's where the niching comes in. If you drill down too far, you're in problems. Okay, so from everyone down to people who want to start a food truck. Now let's look at horizontal choices. So the horizontal choices is, okay, once you started niching down, now which niche do you specifically choose? So people who want to sell prepared foods, and then from there you can niche down to people who want to run a food truck, people who want to start a restaurant, people who want to bake wedding cakes, people who want to buy a food franchise. Can you see how each one of these is a different niche? They're much more niched than people who want to sell prepared foods. But each one of these, the needs and interests and challenges of each one of these groups of people is very different than the others. Some elements are the same, but there's very specific advice that you talk about. And so when you are making horizontal choices of, okay, I've gotten beyond selling prepared foods and I need to decide which kind of prepared foods I want to specialize in, then you start looking at a whole range of other factors. Things like size of market. Are there a lot of people who are in that niche that you're targeting? What about your expertise? Are you any good at this yourself? Or will you have to learn everything from scratch? What about your interests? Is this something that'll get you out of bed every morning, excited to go on through your day? What about competition? Is there a major competition that you're going to go right up against who owns 80-90% of the marketplace? I love competition, but if you got one player who owns 80-90% of the marketplace, you may want to look at a different niche. What about market pricing? So if this is a market where everything's priced at $200, you probably want to lose that in favor of one where everything's priced at $2,000. Much different, much more profitable market. And how about ease of reaching those people? So it's probably going to be easier to get to people who want to start a restaurant than it is to get to people who want to start a food truck or who want to start a cake baking business. And so you start considering that. Now, I'm not saying that any one of those 4 niches is better than another. I'm just saying these are all different areas that you consider. And another one, you want to consider long-term prospects. Is this a fad? Food trucks, are they going to go away in a few years? I don't know. You'll have to look at the research and figure out what it says. What about the regulatory situation? So let's say you're going to go into financial planning. Well, there's regulations. You can do certain things as a person who's not licensed versus person who is licensed. And technically you can get arrested. Well, you can get fined. You can get all kinds of bad things happen to you if you're giving advice without abiding by the regulatory standards in that area. So the key here is this. When you are trying to decide what niche you want to do, you have to decide 2 things. You have to decide vertically how deep you're going to go, and horizontally, which market are you going to choose once you get drilled down to a certain level. And it's actually an iterative process. Once you make one of those decisions, you have to make the other decision. And you should loop back around and make sure that other decision didn't take you out of the first decision. So, for example, once you've made the horizontal decision, now you need to make the vertical decision. Am I specific enough? Am I too specific? So they're iterative between the 2 of them. And all of this, ultimately, don't stress out about it, because ultimately it comes down to testing. Basically, what you're going to do is you launch and you learn. And oftentimes what ends up happening is you launch, and one of the things you may learn is that you need to re-niche. You need to go deeper. You need to go higher. You need to choose a different horizontal niche, whatever that is. This is one of the reasons why we test by launching, because that launching teaches us a ton about our particular market, what the choices are that we've made, and what choices we need to make differently. Okay, there you go. Niching. Vertical, horizontal. You got to make both decisions, and one decision oftentimes means you still have to remake the other decision or reanalyze it at least. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.